I love when we're good. Are we about to be? We're ready? We ready?
Give me a sec, man.
Hell yeah.
Looks like you guys look fucking great. I like it. Yeah, that's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Trip Inc. Welcome to Kill Pop Sessions.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I've known Trip for a while. Many years, actually. You were with me through my first sleeve tattoo.
Oh, yeah.
But you were not the artist. But
I recommended the artist.
Yes, you did, and you're about to be my artist because I've always wanted to work with you, and now is the time.
Now is
the time. First question: is Trip really your name?
No. Trip is my nickname from like birth.
How did you get that? How did you get that?
Anytime anybody described anything I did, they'd be like, "Oh, he tripped out," or he's a trip. And then one time when it really started sticking, I was on the handlebars of a friend of mine's bike. Mm-hmm. And, back in the day we had, long hair. And I don't know the cussing situation of this show, but like whatever.
Go for it.
So I'm on the handlebars of my homeboy's bike, and I got long hair and shit.
Yeah.
And we're riding. And then on the other side of the street, this dude, yells out some, derogatory shit. So I'm like, oh, what the fuck? So we go to 7-Eleven, we get our shit. And then we're riding back, and we're going down a different street, and then we see him, and we're coming up behind him and shit. So I was like, just fucking go faster. And I'm on the handlebars, and as we drove by, I just dove on his ass. And then he grabbed me, and so I told fucking Larry, I'm like, go, go, go. So he took off and shit, and then I got away, and then that was it. He's like, dude, you're a trip.
You're a trip. Oh, that's great. So then you just rolled with the name Trip.
Everyone else did, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I became Trip, and then, my real name's Rick. And so when I returned to society after, serving 11 years in the DOC, mm-hmm. I was like, all right, I met so many people in there. It's, the system is different than people think it is. They think it's a bunch of... it is a bunch of criminals because, sure. By definition, they committed crimes. But that's not what happens, at least in Nevada prisons. This is, Reno and Nevada. And most of the people that are in prison are from somewhere else, so they don't have their people around them in any kind of number to really do anything. So everybody kind of minds their own business. There's like the East Siders and... You know what I mean? But it's Reno and Nevada.
So it's not like the movies.
Well, not here, not in Nevada. It's like it's like summer camp for bullies.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You have to stand up for yourself. You don't have to, like we used to say, look, you don't have to fight, but you can't run. You got to look like you're fighting. You know what I mean? Like, be there. So, and it's a weird place because you meet so many people that, I'd say 1% of the people in prison are criminals. The rest of them are poor people just trying to get out that aren't very smart. And most of them, it's really as little as they don't know how to do paperwork. They get a thing in the mail that says a thing is due by this date. They could even have the money. They just forget. It's just complete absent-mindedness. And so, like in the schools in there, I did GED training and, Planned Parenting. I taught all kinds of little stuff. And... through meeting everybody and hearing everybody's story, you had a couple of, people in there that was like, they'll do it again and again and again.
Right.
And then after that, drug addicts that, are in and out, like they're doing life on the installment plan, 3 years here, 4 years here.
Sure.
And then everybody else, which is the men in this society or in this city from 18 to 50, it's real hard not to get in some good trouble.
Sure.
In Vegas.
Yeah.
Being a hero, helping a friend, I like to say I was never an outlaw. I'm not an outlaw. I'm just my own law. I don't want to have to call someone else if someone says they're going to do harm to me. And then when you're living in so my story is I was born in Texas, Galveston, Texas. Mm-hmm. And my grandpa, he was the mayor of Tropic, Utah. He ran for mayor of North Las Vegas back in the day. And my grandma was the president of the Blind Society, and she was the old lady that was blind at City Hall that ran all the vending machines. She owned Bradley Vending. So any lawyer in town, everybody knows her. Like she would feel the money because she couldn't see, and everybody was always honest with her. Like, she was cool. So, but then our certain situation was that my grandpa went out on my grandma at one time, and then my mom was born to my other grandma Shirley in Galveston, and so she lived with her. But my grandpa had other brothers, so they all, knew each other, and so I lived out there till fourth grade, and until my mom got on her feet, coming out here to be with Dad and meet Dad, I guess, and be with her stepmom, I guess, and her brothers and stuff, and so we're like, all right, we're gonna go out there after fourth grade, and we moved on to Donna Street in the projects. That was my introduction to Vegas. So it was kind of a shock. We lived in Galveston. We lived on a house with stilts with the beach down the street, and you know what I mean. We could catch little baby head.
And then you rolled right to the ghetto.
Oh yeah, and back then it was the ghetto.
Yeah.
Like it was literally it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And then my mom was just gonna get married to my stepdad Rick. No relation.
Right.
But it was cool because he was tough. He was like a biker dude, in the Teamsters, out back in the day when we had to go out by the behind the Union Hall by the railroad tracks and wait out in the sun all day long for them to call you out on the loudspeaker, so you would get a job.
Yeah.
And before beepers or answering machines, like
Right.
And so it was for me it was fun, man. We got to run around the sun, go to the pool every day for 50 cents. You
did early Vegas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you did early Vegas, right? So how did you end up in DOC?
I didn't like being poor, and I liked lying. I lie. I tell a good story to this day. Like and then I'm like, I just went to Reno to see a friend of mine at his tattoo shop. So proud of him, and he was like, "Dude, we never met." I was like, "What the hell?" He's like, "Yeah, I wonder. You always like my stuff, and you always talk to me." He's like, "I have no idea who you are." Like, I was like, "Well, you weren't in the joint with me. Like, I didn't tattoo you." And he's like, "No." I was like, "What the hell?" So I think like somebody else lied to me and said their tattoo shop was MJ20, which I thought was the coolest name because when you get caught tattooing in prison, which is where I learned, you get written up for a major, an MJ20. Right. And so he named his tattoo shop MJ20. And I was like, oh, that's pretty sick.
So what did you do to get into the DOC, though?
I stole everything. I did just burglaries. I wanted to be a jewel thief. My real dad was in prison, federal prison, and he did like banks and stuff like that. So I would watch like The Italian Job and like all those things.
Right.
And I was like, man, there's all these rich people just have money like sitting everywhere. Like, oh yeah. And so I got into the wrong crowd, and then I had a sort of a leader quality where, you know what I mean? And then like I said, I was full of shit, man. I would tell everybody that I was just, here to take care of my mom. Because we moved from Donna Street to 28th Street projects. So, and then I went to Roy Martin Junior High, and I got into music, you know what I mean? Yeah. I was really into being like a stoner kid, Mm-hmm. And getting into music, all the kids that were really good at music were the rich kids. All the kids I was hanging out with were okay, with the exception of like, one group of friends that were like amazing musicians, Devin and like, Alex Martinez, and Devin Reed still plays, like, right. Some of the, anyway. So I liked hanging out with them, and I wanted to be a prodigy. I just wanted to be good at stuff. So I would go home and I would practice. And then, I would go to where they were practicing. I'd be like, oh, let me try that. And I'd get up and they'd be like, oh, shit, you got that good, And then so I thought I was the best. And then one summer, like, Devin went off and got taught by his aunt, who was a great guitar player. And then he came back, and I was just like, oh, my God, I'm far behind.
Right.
So I thought I needed things. I thought I needed the new effects and the new thises and a new guitar. So at one time I tried to do it right. I got a job, got a little apartment. Then I got my first check, and my rent was due, but I know that they let you be late. So I went and bought a guitar. And then my sister found out, and she was all pregnant, so she made me go back to Vesley's back in the day. And she acted like she was my girlfriend, and I went and spent the rent money and made them give my money back for the guitar. And then, anyway, so that led to me just, like, stealing everything. Like, they even said, like, I did, like, every day. I went and tried to find who had jewelry. Like I was, into meth too. So people would come to, get it, and they wouldn't have money, and I'd be like, well, what do you know? Like, where you been? Like, and so they would tell me, oh, this person has this, and this person has this, and in some cases I'd drive them to go get it for me and bring it out, and like I just liked jewelry, and everyone knew it. Like I was
Right.
fascinated, and so, and I didn't want to be anything else. I just knew I didn't want to be poor. I didn't want to live in the ghetto, and I was either going to be in prison or rich, but I wasn't going to stay where I was. And so then I got around a good group of musicians, playing like club rock back in the day. They would let the younger artists play in the
Right.
back. And so and they were like going to go on tour. Some of my friends were going to go on tour in Mexico. And so we were playing Metallica, but they were singing in Spanish. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to go. I was on my own since like 14. I was on the streets sleeping with friends. And so then I really started hitting licks and got caught up, and they gave me like probation while I still had 2 other cases pending, and then I was like, oh, those aren't going to go well, so I didn't report back, and then they got me back, and then they let me out they gave me 3 years, 3 years, 3 years, and then gave me probation on that and let me out. I still had nothing, so I hit some more, and then
Then it was like, boom, this is it. You're in for 11.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever do like any of the jewelry thieving, like where you had to like get around the lights and shit?
Oh,
Like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible or some shit
in
like
my
that?
delusional mind, yes, like literally
Okay.
yes. In one of my trials, they have it on video. I went in this little back room. We turned off the power, and then I used the bars to jack the bars apart and fucking break the window. It's a glass door
Yeah.
window, and they had a dog, and it ran out, did 2 circles in the alley, and ran down the alley. And so we went in, and we thought we had the combination to the safe through selling them stuff over and over again, and they would turn around to the safe. Back in the day, when you pawn something, you'd put it on the counter here, and the safe was right behind them.
Right.
And so if you pawn something for a substantial amount of money, they would have you fill out the ticket, and then they would turn around and do the safe combination and open up the safe, unless it was already open, and then pull out those wooden drawers or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, so we thought we had the safe, and we're like, oh my God, every one of those little envelopes has the jewelry in it with how much it weighs, what it is. Like, you know what I mean? If we get that, we're going to be, gold.
Good to go.
So,
Yeah.
we went in and pawned a bunch of different stuff. And I mean, I used to, I was pretty, they had my picture up at a lot of places, like the Pawn Stars, like they had my picture up in there.
Like,
I would
don't let
still,
this dude
I would
in.
still go in with a fake ID and sell stuff looking at my own picture.
Yeah, wow. So you're in prison, or the DOC, and you're there for a long time. What was the moment that you went, I'm going to tattoo?
Okay, so I wanted to do music still. There was a music room. So, but it was run by this dude, Indian George. And he was in there for cutting his girl's head off and then having it in like the seat next to him. And then we went to Wendy's, tried to order some food for him. And they saw it and they arrested him. And so he ran the band room.
Okay.
Okay, this one gets weirder too.
Okay.
So he ran the band. Like I said, there's some crazy motherfuckers in there, So, and then he had a band going, and he was like, okay, I need a bass player. I was like, all right, I'm a guitar player, but I'll play bass,
Right.
So I go in there, and I'm learning all the songs. And then I go in for the final rehearsal before we do this little show in the gym or some shit. And then he starts singing, and he's like, fucking, the white man came to America. And I'm like, fucking, yeah, right on, fuck them. And he's like, and they told me to pray to their God, da-da-da. And he's like, I'll pray to you. And I'm like, huh? Or I'll pray for you while I kill you, too. And I'm like, fucking, what the fuck? And I was like, man, I really don't feel like I could be in this band, bro. Like, so, especially, like, out here singing in front of the homies. Like, so I was like, okay. And then you could rent a guitar from, or check out a guitar from the church and play in the, like if you're at Indian Springs, And I've been in every institution in this state, by the way. So from juvenile, I've been in Child Haven, Third Cottage, juvenile, Cottage 13, Spring Mountain Youth Camp, NYTC, Boot Camp, Prison, Indian Springs, NNCC, NSP, Ely Max.
That's a lot.
Ely Max in HRP.
Okay.
Like, they roll you around a little bit.
Yeah. So you're like, I can't be in this band.
Well, yeah, I can't do music, and
Yeah.
then somebody could send you a guitar, right? Like, let's say you're in one prison, but then if you get moved to another prison, you can't take the guitar with you.
Right.
And then when they send you the guitar, you have to donate it to the church, but you could have it in your room. And so
Okay.
some people had it, but I didn't have it like that. None of my people had money, So I got into art. I was always into art, being into music. Like for all my little early bands, I would do all the artwork and shit. And so I got into drawing a lot. I would draw for food and shit. And then one day, Ricky Price, he was the heavyweight kickboxing champion, 88, 89, like a local legend here in
Yeah.
Vegas, and he was into, the lifestyle. So he would get it. He would be in and out. And me and him were cellies in on multiple occasions, actually, through a couple of prisons. But for the main part, 3 years in Ely, where I started tattooing. And so we were in Ely Max, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you got a tattoo on me." And I was like, "Well, I can't tattoo." He's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna fucking lock up in the room, and I'm gonna want you to tattoo this shit here." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So we locked up, and I fucking tattooed it, and I remember right then I was hooked. I was like, "Oh, this is fucking crazy!" Like, because it was better than I could draw. Like,
Really? Why?
I don't know. I'm still to this day I can tattoo way better than I can draw. Like I can tattoo the Mona Lisa on you,
Yeah.
but I can't sit down and draw my own Mona Lisa. I could look at the Mona Lisa and draw it, but it's not. To me, it's not as good as a tattoo. There's something about tattooing people that also makes a forever friend. For till I was 33, I was really by myself, mostly in a room, maybe with a cellie. So all I did was draw and watch TV and listen to music, and and then every thought is like, oh, I want to get a burger. You see a commercial, but in 10 years.
Right.
Ooh, Olive Garden, that was good as shit. I hope they have that in 9 years. She's hot now. Like, oh, let me see. So you learn to think differently. And so the whole time in there, I was like, hey, I'm going to get out and open a tattoo shop called Trip Inc. So everybody knows where I'm at. And I would tell everyone that. The guards, everybody knew. The guards wouldn't even bust me for tattooing because the people who snitch. So they'll be like, yeah, he makes them make their own needles. He makes them do this. Like, he throws away everything every time. Nobody gets infected. Like, they would tell them that. And
Right.
so that, I wasn't a risk out there just fucking doing crazy shit. And so for the most part, they leave you alone. And anyway, I got pretty good at it, actually. At one point, I remember that I did a tattoo, and then they went and shook down a tattoo artist on the yard that was, like, the best, and he was way better than me. And the guards, like, they all have intel. Like, they take pictures of everything. So they know whose stuff is whose. They knew my stuff. They know his stuff. But they mistook my stuff for his stuff.
Oh.
And I was like, fucking hell yeah,
Yeah.
So I like, I put myself around people who I think are the best. Because that's who I learn from, and that's, you know what I mean? I've always read you are the 5 people you hang around. So since I've been out, I've tried to meet and tattoo everyone I ever had a thought about in there, So like every band, my wife, I got her into it too. Like she's going to Anne Rice's funeral. She loves Anne Rice. I'm like, love and friendship and family is an action word. So she just went to the Buffy convention. She loves Buffy, So getting in a crowd where there's people that like the same shit you like is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And your idols, all these people that I liked, I don't like them because they're famous. I spot little talents in between, And most of the famous people that that are my friends, I knew them before anybody knew who they were.
100%, which
You know.
is going to bring me to when we met,
Oh, okay.
which is Clean Rock 1.
Clean Rock 1, yeah.
Clean. My arm was done before he hit Ink Master, and obviously that's where I met you. How did you meet Clean and become? Because that's a big part of your journey into owning your own shop, correct?
Yeah. Well, so when I got out, I didn't know the rules of the tattoo world. So I went to every tattoo shop looking for an apprenticeship. And so I showed them all my drawings from prison and, told them, yeah, I've been tattooing, all this time. I want to get a job tattooing. And so they're like, oh, well, you got to go through apprenticeship, get licensed. And I'm like, all right, I'm down. Let's do it, whatever. And they're like, oh, you got to do the apprenticeship. It doesn't pay. And I'm like, oh, I can make money somewhere else. I want to do this. And I couldn't really get anything. The people who did offer me apprenticeship weren't good. And the ones that were good, even the Las Vegas art group I wanted to join. I was like, oh, I want to join this. And they're like, oh, well, we're not really taking anybody.
Yeah.
And so because I was sort of cocky, I guess, back then I was into fighting too. I was in that little tough man thing, so I fought at Caesars and the Rio.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know what I mean? So I had that kind of vibe, so I can understand it now. And then I got some jobs at like little shops, little smoke shops and stuff. And I was like, I can't, get better like this. I'm going to have to go to these tattoo conventions and take seminars. And, they didn't have DVDs out yet. So, and this is before it was on TV and shit.
Yeah.
And so I got a job at this shop called Wildside. And after 2 weeks, they were like a biker shop. And plus I was plugged in because I knew a bunch of people they knew from prison, Mm-hmm. So they within 2 weeks, they gave me my own tattoo shop and gave me an apprentice. Christian Buckingham, from
I
Ink
remember
Masters.
him. Yeah.
He was my apprentice. I was only tattooing 2 weeks, so I would go home and read tattoo magazines, and then come back and tell him all kinds of stuff, and then have him. Me and him both were tracing all the flash because back in those days you didn't have computers, so the flash at a tattoo shop was like, oh my god! I even wanted to get flash all over my body at once, and every artist was like, don't do that, bro. I'm like, I love this shit.
Right.
So anyway, not being able to get a job at a really good shop and I call it a good shop run by an artist that I want to be like, I want to learn from. So I started doing the convention. I started my own place in the Arts District upstairs. I got a little 2-station place, and then I was always into music, so I was going to a show, and I saw this girl selling alcohol. And, at House of Blues, where you go out and smoke.
Right.
And she had beautiful tattoos. And I was like, oh, shit. And I know every tattooer in Vegas. I can look at a tattoo and tell you who did what. Not now. You got to pass 3 tattoo shops to get to a 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
So anyway, she stood out. And I was like, hey, what's up? And it turns out she's Angie. She owns the dive bar now. I was like, who's your artist? She's like, oh, Clean Rock One. And I was like, oh, shit, I heard of him because he's like the father of new school tattooing. Right. There was this book out that he was in, and I was just like, wow. So I was like, hey, I got a 2-station tattoo shop. If he ever wants to come down and tattoo, tell him come on. And so she's like, okay. We exchanged information and stuff, and back then I sucked. I had potential. I still have some of the stuff in my portfolio you can't tell.
Right.
So anyway, Clean came to town, and I think he took one look at my place and was like, and then, he hooked up with Ryan Downey and did some stuff, and then he opened Chrome Gypsy Tattoo.
Correct.
So when he opened Chrome Gypsy, he gave me a call and said, hey, how would you like to work here? And I was like, because I have an amazing clientele, because like I said, I try to meet everybody.
Yeah.
And it's a social game. And so he being from Chicago, just coming out, wanted to have some artists that, at least could generate him some money. And I was like, hell yeah, if you'll teach me. And so it was like 60-40, I keep 40. I don't know, 50, I forget what it was. No, it's 60-40, I keep 60. And so I was like, okay, going from keeping 100, that wasn't that bad of a hit. So I was like, hell yeah. So I went down, and for a month I kept my place. And I tattooed there, and I was like, okay, this is going to work out. This is pretty good, He was even giving me clients and stuff. I was learning pretty quick. I'm a quick learner. Like, I can look at your style and bite it. But I don't feel like that's fair. So I wait till you put out a seminar or a DVD, and now I can do your style.
Right.
Or Clean taught me new school and neo-traditional,
Yeah.
So I went and worked there. So like after a month, I gave back my keys, and I came in, and he's like, hey, man, I don't think it's going to work out. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, you're just not fitting in, you're not progressing fast enough. There's no way I can have you here and shit. And I was like, fuck, all right. And I'm thinking, man, fuck, I just gave back my keys today. And he's like, oh, I was just fucking with you. And so from that point on, I saw his I saw his personality, and then and at that time, and so then at that time, Case, I don't know if you remember Case.
Uh-huh.
That was a a friend of mine. Like we always knew everybody who knew
Yeah.
and he was coming to town, and he coming back to town, and he was the head of security for a new band called Five Finger Death Punch that was all moving to town to start launching here.
Yeah.
And so they all needed tattoos and stuff. So he introduced me to them, and I started bringing them in. And me and Clean would I got some pictures of us tattooing, each of I'm doing a neck here, and he's in the same station doing a neck. And he's a dick too, like a fun dick,
Oh no, I know.
Clean's,
Clean,
he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't need any. There's a lot of people who try to be your friend, and like if you're gonna be my friend, we'll just end up keep seeing each other. There's no trying about it, because he's a busy dude, does his own thing.
Sure.
So he sets an environment that's always different than the person. So whenever Five Finger would come in, he would put on country.
Yeah.
And they'd be sitting there like, what the fuck?
Dude, I was tattooed by Clean. You were there a lot of the times I was there, and he was so funny because I remember when Ink Master was coming his way, and he was like, I don't know, I don't think I can do it. I just don't know. I'm like, Clean, are you fucking crazy? Sign up for that. Do it. And I remember him filling out the application for Ink Master, worried about it. I'm like, dude, you're a fucking win.
You know what a lot of artists say?
You're
Oh,
a
they
win.
called me, and usually they do not call artists. But when he got called, it was Rivals.
Yeah.
And so, but they didn't tell us that. And so when we went for the auditions, me and Christian and Derek Rubright, I think, all drove down in a caravan. And Clean stayed here. We went to Arizona, I forget where. And so we all did our interviews, and it was pretty clear I wasn't making it because it's a TV show and they already have a cast sort of done. And so they had an old biker guy.
Yeah.
Or, at that point, a young
it's
biker
TV,
guy.
100%, yeah.
And but they let me go on. I guess I had
Yeah.
a personality enough to get to the little next
Yeah.
round. So we
Yeah.
got to stay overnight. And then they called and they told us all. And they told us, they wanted to get a hold of Clean. So I fucking called Clean and said, yeah, they want to fucking see you too. And I didn't know it was Rivals at this time either. And so, and they told to us Derek didn't make it. And we're all in the same hotel room and he's in a different car. And so we're always joking. And so he's like, what'd they say? And I was like, yeah, they said you didn't make it. But me and Zoo were there too, Jeff Parkway. He owns Parkway Aesthetics now. He does the scar cover-ups. Mm-hmm. But he's an amazing artist. So we're telling Derek, man, we're not joking, bro. You didn't make it. And so anyway, he ends up leaving. And then they called Clean and told him it was Rivals and it was going to be me and him. And so I was like, well, I have no rivalry with him. I'd love to go on.
Yeah, we
And
cool.
so the rivalry we were going to make up was that I have 2 kids, he has 2 kids. I'm raising mine without TV, I'm not a sports dude, so we did art and music, and then his kids are rambunctious and going crazy,
Yeah.
Baby Rips is killing it to this day,
Yeah.
and then he got an artist to come down from Chicago to work for him, and then when I opened my shop, he came to work for me, but still lived with Clean.
Yeah.
So, and they're best friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's the closest we have to a rivalry is his best friend came to live with him and work at his shop, and he now works at my shop. And so we're going to make something out of that, but then Tim Lees ended up being the one there,
Yeah.
And then they tried to get me and Christian on Master Apprentice. And so we did I thought we were on, man. They even told us we were on, and then I heard they were filming. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then Christian made it on the next time, and then I just stopped trying.
Well, that show wasn't even remotely what it was at that time anymore. I think once Dave Navarro split, it was a done deal.
Still, though, I mean, if they had a $100,000 show for DJs to do what you're doing right now,
I'd be all over it.
Yeah,
I'd
so
be,
I mean, I
100%. I'd be chasing it. There's no doubt about it.
I didn't fit really, and I know why now. I'm getting a little wiser,
Yeah.
I set out in this industry to have my own shop, and so I wanted to know who to hire. I studied every style. Where most artists, study their art, and they're an artist. So I haven't really been an artist for a while. I'm a designer. You want a traditional tattoo? Right on. I've studied traditional tattoo with Rick Walters, and so I know how to do them. But when I meet a traditional artist, I know what's up. Or if someone comes into my shop and they want a traditional tattoo, I know which artist I'm going to send them to. I'm not going to do it, but I want to know who to hire. So for Ink Masters, I would be a guy who trained for Ink Masters to do every style. What they're looking for is somebody who's just so great at what they do. They're so focused and they're so passionate about their way that looking to the side and doing it a different way, are you going to bring your talent over, or are you a one-trick pony kind of deal? And so I don't know. I love it, man.